The Autoblog Podcast is presented by the Salvation Army. Your donations help those in need win their daily battles to survive poverty. To give, ask your smart speaker to make a donation to the Salvation Army, or make your gift at salvationarmyusa.org.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Autoblog Podcast. Today we have a special show. We're at the headquarters of Bollinger Motors in Ferndale, Michigan. Joining me today is the CEO and founder of Bollinger, Robert Bollinger himself. How's it going?
Good. How's it going? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Also joining today, fittingly for an EV truck and SUV maker, senior editor for All Things Green, John Beltz Snyder.
Super happy to be here.
We are psyched to be here. This is one of the cooler stories of the auto industry in recent years. You know, obviously we have this new wave of electric vehicle makers. They're coming in all shapes and sizes. You guys are doing them in trucks and SUVs, which is pretty cool. Obviously, that's what consumers are looking for. These are sort of retro throwback vehicles, really big sense of style. Some think they kind of look like those old school Defenders. Just why are you doing this, I guess, first of all?
Yeah.
What made you wake up and think, hey, let's do this?
I go back to that many nights. Why did I start this? When it gets crazy, tough and crazy, I do go back to just that first thought, I guess, which was in 2015 of just wanting to build what I couldn't find out on the market. So I just wanted a truck. I wanted everything about the truck that's in ours now is basically what we put in it. That's what we wanted in there. Storage capability, off-road capability, ground clearance, 50-50 weight distribution. So it started as like, what do we need? What do I want on my farm? What do the other guys in the company at the time? We were like 5 of us at that time. What would they want to use it for? You know, so if I wanted to use on my farm Monday through Friday, let's say, and they took it somewhere off on the weekend, where could they take it off-roading? So it was this crazy amalgamation of all crazy capable stuff, really. And then we're like, okay, we got that. Now what does it look like? How is it packaged? What does it do? And that was the hardest part, because that fell on me. And it was like, well, I want to just look like what it's supposed to do and not be designed. You know, that was kind of the initial intention. And so we also wanted to make it by hand, so that's where the flat panels came in. We could just bend them ourselves. So it was just like, what can we build in this little 4,000 square foot shop ourselves? And that's what came out the door one day.
Very cool. Very cool. You guys have been doing this since 2015. Even before that, like, what was just like the impetus? You know, has this always been a dream of yours, or how did you arrive sort of at this?
Yeah, the dream was, my dream as a kid was to design race cars and Ferraris and Lamborghinis like little kids do. So I drew those a lot, and when I was 5 through 15 kind of thing. Then I went to school for industrial design. I wanted to be a car designer. Went the wrong path, which is industrial design instead of car styling. Yeah. But it turned out better, because you learn really from the inside out and how things are made and why you make them and how to make them more efficient. So it's like design with 25% engineering thrown in. So that was cool, because I didn't know if I wanted to be an engineer or car designer also at the time. So it was perfect. And so it came from that original thing when you're young and stupid.
Yeah, no, very cool.
Unknowing, however you want to call it.
So be sure to check out all of the news and the related, videos, everything we have at Bollinger on Autoblog. But for the podcast listeners, maybe who aren't in front of their laptops right now, just kind of take us through your product lineup.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Talk about the specs a little bit.
Yeah, range,
right.
all those things.
Yeah, so in 2015 when we started on the 2-door B1, and that was made fully by us, by hand, of course, fully operational prototype, and that was revealed in 2017. That's currently at the Peterson Museum in an EV exhibit, which we're super crazy.
That's really cool.
Crazy proud. Like, it was insane. Like, when I walked in there and saw it sitting there, I kind of lost it. But anyway, so that's really cool. In LA, if you're there, you can go see that one. And then since then, there was about making the next versions to production. And so we knew we were going to make 4-door versions, because that's bigger wheelbases, so it allows the bigger battery pack that we knew we needed. Sure. So the 2-door is off the radar right now for production, because of just what we have to get in there. So what we started making was the 4-door B1 and then the 4-door B2 pickup. So we have an SUV B1 and a pickup truck, the B2. And they're the same vehicle from nose to C-pillar, and then, of course, the pickup truck goes a little bit further.
Yeah.
And so those are the two that we just revealed in September here in Ferndale. And then they came back from the LA Auto Show, and where they had a great response. So it was a great time there at LA.
You guys got a ton of coverage out of LA. I remember this has happened a couple times, like with Rivian and Faraday Future, some of the different, startups. What was that like, being at this, world-class big auto show and being right out there with like Chevy and Toyota and Tesla and all of the people who are, on that big stage?
Yeah, well, when we were there we were there in 2017 for the B1 2-door, right? Mm-hmm. And it was just such a crazy two different worlds, because back then, people knew us, far fewer people knew of us, right? Yeah. But also just the perception of electric with truck was like, what is this? Why are you doing this? Where's the motor? Where's the engine? What's going on? And if they found out it was electric, they kind of they didn't get it, a lot of people. And this is LA, where it's a lot of Teslas were already on the road and stuff like that. And then, of course, you had a lot of people who did get it, but it was just a weird kind of introduction thing. This year, because there's more people who know about us, but also just the entire mentality around electric has changed. People are like, oh yeah, this is so cool, I've seen this, or oh wow, what is this? Oh, it's electric, of course it's electric, tell me more. So I knew that would be the day when everything would be electric, and our truck would have to survive on its own merits. You couldn't just sell it because it's electric. Yeah. And that's why we never went the path of let's make an electric F-150, or let's electrify something that's already out there, because you already absorb and have to inherit all the problems with pickup trucks and trucks in general. So by doing from the ground up, we just created these trucks. And so it was, to be there this time around was just let's say more joyous, more exciting, and we've arrived in a way. So when it's kind of like in 2017, we were ahead of our time, and now we're showing, when people understand what's going on and love what we're doing.
Very cool.
That explains.
Nice.
Answers your question.
Yeah.
Now, this isn't your typical EV, built for efficient commuting. These are hardcore. You've been testing them off-road. They're meant to carry a lot. There's a lot of plugs for power tools and whatnot. Who are you looking at as your customers? Are these people on farms, or are these enthusiasts? Who do you think is going to be buying your trucks?
Well, when we were first developing the trucks and had everything out on social media and had people where they could put down no money down reservation just to hold a spot in the past, a lot of those people, the most vocal of those people, were off-roaders. So it was definitely an off-road crowd that loved what we were doing. They knew what they were saying. They saw the approach angles, they saw the ground clearance, and then either through us or on their own knew what electric would meant for off-roading, with all the power, all the torque instantly, and all that kind of stuff. So that was definitely our most vocal crowd. I still think that there was a very large crowd behind that, people more like me who wanted it for the capability of it. And as being the only Class 3 electric truck being developed, it can hold 5,000 pounds. So the whole thing has to be engineered for that. It's not easy to make the next class up in trucks, right? It's got all your braking, all your suspension, everything has to pass all the federal regulations for that class. So you have to do the Davis-Damick test and the towing test and the braking test and all that kind of stuff at 10,001 pounds. So we're going to have to load 5,000 pounds into these and go off and test it. So that's how crazy it is. So I think that those different worlds where they overlap, where you can buy it because you want just it for off-road. And we had the B2 pickup at Moab as well, so we have a lot of video of that online too. So a pickup truck going off-road was pretty cool. But you have the off-road world, you have the storage world, and people who want to use it on their farms, and then people who want it just because maybe they just like the way it looks, or they want it because it's electric and finally it's something I want to buy, like why I developed it, right? Something I wanted to drive. So you have all these different people, and I think now that we've pre-sold most of our first year's production, now that we've revealed our SRP and put it out there for real deposits, we've met with a lot of those people, especially around the LA Auto Show, and a lot of them, because of our price point, they might have some money, right? And so they might have some land. So a lot of them end up being more like how I originally thought of it, is that you're going to use it on your property. and be able to go anywhere on your property and do what you got to do. So I always thought electric was best for trucks, because it may not be your pickup truck that you drive across the country in. You might pick a different vehicle for that, right? So I always thought the range anxiety and all that kind of stuff didn't pertain to trucks the same way as it might to sedans. Could be totally wrong. I'm sure there's a lot of people who would differ on me on that. We could have a lot of discussion about that, but I just felt electric fit trucks really well.
And you're building these here in Detroit. You're building them by hand, basically. How many of these are you building per year, do you think?
Yeah, the prototypes that you see on our website, we made ourselves in our shop here in Ferndale, yes. And that was the whole team worked on those. Everyone touched it. The actual production of them is going to be a third-party manufacturer. Okay. And we're very close to announcing that. So that's someone who has built tens of thousands of vehicles. They built electric as well. Perfect for us, and so we hope to announce that super soon.
Interesting. Do you have a volume figure for how many you're going to build?
Yeah, we're going to be in the low single-digit thousands at first.
Okay.
So yeah, nothing crazy. And even our scaling that we're planning on doing over time is organic growth. It's not like crazy, over-the-top assumptions or predictions. Like we price our vehicle at what it costs to make our vehicle, and we have starting off with very low volume because we want to get it right, and starting with third-party manufacturer who has built for basically decades.
Okay.
So we don't want to come out with a product that's not amazing and a truck that you want to keep for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. Looking forward to that news.
Yeah.
You started out in New York, and now you're here in Detroit. What brought you here, and what do you think of Detroit as a place to have your headquarters?
So we were in. When we were in New York, we were in the middle of the woods. Yeah. We're in the mountains. We're Catskills. Yeah, exactly a great place to be hidden away and come up with something and develop it and have the mountains and the off road and the mud and the snow to work with. So that was perfect for our brain work and all the work that we did on it. But when reality hit and I was trying to hire dozens of engineers and all the supports, everyone you need to get this going, no one wanted to move there out of Detroit. There's multi-generational family, engineers and people who make vehicles here. This is where the roots are, and plus, why would they move for a startup they'd never heard of, and that kind of thing. So I just came to where it's all at. So I was flying here every other week to meet with engineering firms, with engineers, with people we could hire to look at space for a second office. I was looking for an office back there, so more space back there. So it was like, obviously we have to move here. So I sold the farm, sold everything, because when I started this, it was like, okay, it's either this or not, or it's nothing. So that didn't matter. It doesn't matter where I live. It matters that the truck gets made. And so we're here. I'm always in the shop. So I was always in the shop then. I'm always in the shop now. So Detroit's perfect for us. We've been able to hire dozens of people. We have hundreds to hire. And so we got to be here. And it's still difficult because the job market is very tight. So you got to really try to pry people away from what they're doing and come work here. And the people we attract to are kind of the off the beaten path kind of people who want maybe something a little bit different, just like the people who want to buy our trucks, I think. Okay. So we're maybe the outliers in a good way. So yeah, I love Detroit. It's I haven't gotten upstate or out much, so I have to do that this summer. I was here all summer. So.
Well, you were working.
Yeah,
busy.
Yeah. Everyone was working. No one was allowed to leave.
I'm curious. So, if you're listening, you can probably hear some of the ambient noise in the background. That's people hard at work here at the headquarters, which is really cool. I'm curious how many people you have working out of this operation.
Right now, we're 30, and we all wear at least two more hats. 3 hats. So we're really 50 to 60 to 90 people in essence. So we're just constantly hiring on our website as all of the jobs we're looking for right now. We're just hoping to hire as many people as possible. We're probably going to grow out of this spot pretty soon, and but still stay in the Detroit area, obviously.
How? What's your pricing structure? Just for the podcast listeners, kind of go over that. I think it's $125,000 can you option up? Are there any other price points? Just how does that all break down?
Right, yeah. So our SRP is $125,000, and that is based on reality. You know, I get a lot of questions about the pricing because obviously that's a large number. But it's a hand-built truck, basically. Even when it goes in production, the volumes that we're at, it's going to be hand-assembled. There's just so much in the truck. There's 6 gearboxes. There's the biggest battery pack on the market will be in it. So there's a lot going into it. And what we're very careful about, in the same way that we want to start off with low volumes, even if we had a different price point, we want to start off with low volumes, is that we want to be realistic about this. The idea is that all of this doesn't matter unless the truck gets built, and it gets built well, and it delivers on what we say it's going to be, right? So that price covers our pricing. It means I don't have to go out and raise billions of dollars from, to keep us going for tens of years. So like a sound business strategy is how we're seeing it. So that's the price point. We're working on options right now. There's lots of things that you can add onto the truck. We don't have any real info on that, like how much that might be, but there will be other things you can put on it. But basically what is in the truck with the ground clearance and the 6 gearbox and all that kind of stuff, all that comes standard on the truck. Like everything you've seen is in that price point, definitely.
What you see is kind of what you get.
Yeah.
Cool. 6 gearboxes. Could you maybe explain that? That's a little bit of interesting.
There's actually 7 if you count the steering rack. But anyways, so 6, it's all-wheel drive, right? So you have one motor on each axle, and on each axle is a transmission. And then at each wheel is an in-wheel geared hub.
Gotcha.
So they work in unison to give it everything that we say on the website, but it's basically those are the 6 right there.
And how big is the battery pack?
It'll be 120 kilowatt hours.
And your target range is?
200 miles.
200 miles.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's, there's a lot of power there. So we needed kind of a battery cell that was not just an energy cell, because they make energy cells and they make power cells, right? Mm-hmm. So ours was almost like needed both. So the final people that we're working with, the final vendor for it, has just that right kind of marriage of those two. So we found the perfect module for what we need. And so we're developing that further. So that's, like I was talking to you earlier about all the testing we have to do.
Yeah.
There's like a whole year of battery testing ahead of us. So by itself, in the trucks, in our next round of trucks, forever. So
it's interesting you say that. I was at the tech center for General Motors last week. They were doing a tour, and they were doing the exact same thing with their battery packs. Like the whole purpose of the tour was essentially look at how we make our hybrids and EVs and our electrical systems. And, the engineers were making this kind of point like, well, we get it from XYZ supplier, but then we need to get it in here and see if it's sort of what they say it is. And it's not so much like, we're not assuming ill intent or anything. It's just like, does it work that way on your vehicle?
Right.
So it sounds like, big or small, you guys kind of are in the same boat, going through the same things.
Yeah, I think it's standard automotive practice, or probably, practice anywhere. But yeah, in the room right next to us is a group of our modules that we're putting through right now. So you have to test voltage, everything. You have to put it on tons of stuff. And then that's module testing. Mm-hmm. Then you got string testing, and then you got pack testing. And then you have mechanical pack testing, like dropping it and all that kind of stuff. So there's the electrical side, there's the control side. Is it listening to what you're doing? You have to test all of your controls so that does it operate the way you want it to, and then the mechanical side. So yeah, we can talk forever about testing.
You have very chemical, very electrical, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what do you think of the just the electric vehicle space right now? I mean, Rivian is making a ton of news. Cybertruck is sort of kind of a thing. As you look around the Ford
to
Mustang,
put it mildly,
Mach,
right?
Yeah. What do you think of all this stuff?
Oh, it's all good. Like when we started this, it was under the assumption that everything would be electric one day. Mm-hmm. We knew there'd be an electric F-150. Obviously I didn't know of Rivian at the time. Rivian's been around for 10 or 11 years as a different name, a couple different names along the way.
They were really below the radar for about 5 years, and then all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah, and that's a good way to do it too. Yeah. So, but everyone who is doing something is adding to the pool that we can benefit from. So when there's billions of dollars with Volkswagen was forced into the electric world, great, because now there's billions of dollars they have to put in it to save face. Is just going to provide 1 million more vendors for us, so along the way. So the way I always think of it is that the ICE world has had 100+ years of development. Vendors, the efficiencies that have been made, the amazing quality, everything's really well made, really efficient in the internal combustion engine world, and that's all going to come to a screeching halt, and everyone's kind of panicking behind the scenes. So there's a lot of tier ones who are like, oh, dang, what do I do? I don't know. It's like, what word do I use? So it's like, and so they, some have been calling us, can we maybe work on something together, that kind of thing. So everyone's trying to figure it out. And for everyone across the board, electric is extremely expensive. There's no, I have a Chevy Bolt. I know that was sold below the cost it took to make it. Every vehicle that's sold it all out there that's electric and now is below the cost it took to make it. And the companies can afford to do it. Some, I guess you could argue that, but they make them that way because they have to, and they're being forced to because of legislation, right? So everyone's being forced into it, and it's going to eventually get to that point. I still think that's a little ways off, but that's why our truck is $125,000 because it's realistic.
Yeah, I mean, Chevy kind of famously said they never really made money on the Volt, or if they did, it was like at the very end.
Yeah. And who was it that said, "Please don't buy my electric vehicle"?
That was Sergio Marquez.
Exactly.
I was just going to bring that up. The 500e.
Exactly.
It's like, don't buy this thing.
I was like, I totally understand why he's saying it, but anyway.
That was actually, I think, the car they said they were going to make to sort of get the government to give them the money to buy Chrysler, and then they're like, yeah, it's this like golf cart 500e thing that isn't really quite worth the the money. Cybertruck, though, what do you think? I mean, you have a design background. I'm really curious here.
Cybertruck did what I think it was supposed to do, which was make people stop and, mouth open, kind of say what? So I think Tesla's usually shows cars that are very close to what production intent. Yeah. And I think this was more of a show car, concept vehicle kind of idea to get people talking, and it worked. Yeah. So I don't know where it goes from there, but it's obviously a big statement. Yeah. Let's put it that way.
Definitely. Are you going to shatter any glass windows when you go to any press conferences?
Yeah, there's a ton of people who think that was on purpose for some kind of end goal. I don't know.
If it was brilliant. I mean, we're still talking about it a month later.
They're like, let's have him talk about the glass, not the design. I don't know. But no, as far as like completely undoing what is out there on the road and coming up with your own thing, I totally get. That's what we went with our thing. We went with a classic look because I want our vehicles to always be desired, let's say. And if you buy it, I don't want the next time we come out with one, it makes that one look old. And EVs often try to look very futuristic. And when there's a whole new dialogue or a whole new, like what words do we use to describe this whole new thing coming out? And as people start throwing out stuff that they think it's going to be, that's a good thing to do. So Cybertruck falls underneath that. Look, what do we think a future EV should look like? So I think everyone should be throwing out crazy ideas like that. But I wanted my aesthetic, and my aesthetic is our trucks, and I wanted something that you could hand down year after year and keep for the rest of your life. So I went classic.
It's definitely, I think, resonated with some of our readers because, like, you look at the new Defender, and some of the comments are saying things like, well, this doesn't quite look like the Defender we thought it would. What about those guys at Bollinger? They just made a Defender. So it's interesting, the different design.
If you put them next to each other, it really does not have that much going. The idea of our truck makes you say Defender and all that kind of stuff, but if you put them side by side, there's...
Right.
Anyway. But I think that's a good vehicle. Yeah. They should just not have called it Defender. No one would be talking ill of it if they just came up with a new name. There's a whole new line, and they said, "This is just another vehicle of ours. It's a cool little vehicle."
You could say the same thing for the Ford Mustang Mach E.
Yeah, I was going to get to that. What do you think of that?
I saw it in person in LA. It looks really good in person. Okay. Yeah. So the reveal, it's very Ford reveal. Yeah. But I saw it in person. Very cool. And again, if they had just called it whatever, you'd be like, I think it's going to be a big seller. But it's weird because I don't know what their marketing is, why they did it, because the Mustang world is a world unto itself, and the EV world is a world unto itself. So that name, putting Mustang on, is not going to pull people kicking and screaming out of the Mustang world into it. If you offered an electric Mustang in the future, you'll have people who will buy it because a lot of people want that. So, but I don't know why they stuck it on a different vehicle. So.
I think that's kind of where we landed too. We were talking about how like Mach E makes all this sense. It sounds, great, but do an electric Mustang. But an electric Mustang Mach E that's a crossover, it's like, there's a lot of things going into the recipe there.
Right. Especially when you look at the interior.
Yeah.
You could maybe say there's something on the exterior that, but once you go into the interior, it's a fully up-to-date, now EV kind of look that goes with what you expect from a new EV sedan. So I don't know why they should have analog dials if it's a Mustang.
Yeah.
EV.
No.
Anyway.
What do I know? I agree. Yeah.
But it's very cool. It's very nice in person. It's going to be a big seller.
Cool. How about the charging infrastructure? Is there something, will you guys sell chargers? Are you going to use existing chargers? What's the plan there?
Yeah, we'll use existing chargers. 80% of, go to my studies that I've read, through, but basically most people charge at home.
Yeah.
So I think that's like the future is like, well, with so many people living in cities, how are you going to have EVs? And they're just maybe not set up for that yet. But currently, most people with EVs do charge at home. I have my Chevy Bolt. We only charge on level 1. I never I never even bother getting a level 2 put in. So I think that's most of charging. Highway charging, of course, you're not supposed to do too much. That's supposed to be like, under certain circumstances. So, and they also, I think they found out that level 3 charging doesn't degrade the battery as much as they thought it was. Okay. That's mostly from Tesla data. Yeah. But basically, electric is everywhere. It's more everywhere than gas stations. Yeah. So I don't have any concern about charging. That's my final statement. No kidding. But a lot of people ask me when you go to a park or if you're off-roading, well, what happens at the top of the mountain? There's not a charging station. Yeah. But the same thing, there's also not a gas station at the top of the hill. You plan your day. So like our trucks have 8 to 10 hours of off-road capability to them. So you may not think in terms of miles for off-roading. So, but you can get, where are you? Are you trailering it? When you get there, a lot of national parks are installing level 3 chargers now. So are you near an RV park? RV chargers work, right? So you just will know. Just like, it's that whole thing when you don't know, it's a fear thing. But once if everyone went out and had to buy an EV tomorrow, they'd be like, oh, this is easy. You just plan your day accordingly. It's the same way you plan your gas day.
You think range anxiety, that sort of buzzword,
it's all made up.
Kind of made up.
Yeah. Unless you do, here in Michigan, a lot of people do drive an hour and a half to work.
Yes.
They want to live where they want to live, and then they might keep, if they keep changing jobs, they don't keep changing homes. So sometimes they drive very far. So certain people, I'm sure it's an issue. A lot of people maybe, but for, what's the average miles per day driven is 30 something?
32.
Yeah. So, like when they got rid of the EV1, Ed Begley Jr., right, was a big advocate of this. Yeah. And he was like, in his saying, like, they made a vehicle that only fits 90% of the American public.
True.
And it's just like, EVs are totally, and that's back then. How far did that go? 40 miles?
Yeah. That was so ahead of its time. Yeah. We were, again, just talking about this around the office, like, we think GM should roll the EV1 back out and like really get back in front of it. And I know there was some bad publicity around it. Yeah.
Yeah, they could reclaim the narrative, essentially.
Yeah.
They found one in a parking garage.
In Georgia, right? Or something? Yeah. Kind of random.
Yeah.
You've been sharing videos of the testing of these trucks. Where have you been driving these?
First, we took them straight out to Colorado. Uh-huh. So we did some off-road Colorado stuff in the snow. That was mostly a cold weather test for the battery pack real quick, just to make sure kind of thing. So that was 7 degrees that day. So all the video of that, it was a cold day. So we didn't hit like tons of snow, but it was more of a cold thing. Then we went to Moab for 2 days after that and took it off-road, both of them. And then it was the LA show. Since then, come back, we've gone to the Eaton testing tracks in Western Michigan. Both of them have been out there for 2 days. And then they've both been on dyno for a couple of days. So nothing... in the world of testing, that's not much, but we have a ton ahead of us. We have We had some video on our website of the two-door originally at the TRC track in Ohio, and that was for durability setup stuff. So these will go back to TRC, both of them, and go against that data for durability and everything also as well. And then we want to take them back out west. We've been fine-tuning the hydraulics, fine-tuning the steering, fine-tuning a lot of stuff. So ride and handling. So we want to take them back out for both off-road and we took them at the sand dunes up northern Michigan.
Oh, cool.
For a lot of sand stuff. So we have videos of that. That's all in Michigan. So we're trying to get in a lot of different scenarios, both with humans and machines.
That's kind of a tough day of work.
Yeah.
That would be very wild if, like, can you imagine being on vacation up north and just all of a sudden you see, like, a Bollinger SUV kind of rolling up a sand dune?
I'd be totally geeking out.
Yeah.
Well, I went out to lunch and I came back and they were driving the B2 around the block to test out something they just zapped into the controls just for regen, I think.
Oh, cool.
So it was really weird to come around the corner and see my truck on the road, and I was like, because we had manufacturer's plates, so it was all totally legal. But anyway, it was just like, what the hell is that? So it's,
I think, did you fast forward into the future? What day is it? When did I wake up?
Right.
What sort of a response have you gotten, if people have seen you out in the wild testing these and don't know what it is?
Well, the crazy enough is that when we first took it to Colorado in 2017, before the LA Auto Show, then the two-door, we pulled up to the bottom of the trail and we opened the trailer and it rolled it out, and the first Jeep that drove up to go up the trail, they stopped and said, "Hey, that's the Bollinger."
That's awesome.
that's
very
cool.
first people in outside of our shop, and they knew what it was, and they were off-roading, so they'd heard about it and all that kind of stuff. So that was a great thing.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, it was very good. So, and then when we're taking it out of the LA Auto Show at night and getting it back on the trailer after the show was over, we're behind the LA Convention Center, and someone was driving down the road and they came to a screeching halt, and they rolled down the window and said, "What is that?" So it gets reaction, so that's good, and it definitely doesn't blend in. So, but yeah, people usually stop. When we had it at SEMA in 2017, totally not, back then, a couple years ago in SEMA, it was like, we had just the hood open and the front open, and they were like, that would make people stop because they assumed it was internal combustion engine, of course. And they come up and they're like, "What's that?" And then when you said, "Oh, it's electric," half of them just said, "Oh, that's ridiculous," "Oh, it's stupid," and walked away. And then you get some people engaged, and then they learn. So we didn't go back this year, but I'd imagine if we went back, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, electric, get it, we get it." Tell us about his off-road capability. So
A little bit of a different audience there, I guess.
yeah.
Do you, do you talk to, like, any of the industry leaders? Like, do you talk to, like, Elon Musk or RJ Scaringe or anybody like that? I mean, I'm picturing this, like, club of, like, electric vehicle guys that has coffee once a month. Is there any sort of, like, communication? Is it all just everybody's off doing their own thing?
Yeah, they're all off doing their own thing. I've made a lot of great connections with people in the automotive industry on so many different places and for different reasons. A lot of designers, a lot of people who have reserved our truck. A lot of architects and stuff like that. So it's always growing. Who I'm happy to be able to talk to. I've had some people reach out to me and say, "I know what you're going through. Keep going, keep going. Don't worry, about this or don't worry about that or keep, So when I get those odd reassurances, it's really, really comforting. It's really great. But I haven't talked directly to those guys.
When do you plan to go to production with this and begin deliveries?
Deliveries will be in 2021.
Okay.
So production will be the very beginning of that year, and then first deliveries then. So we have all of next year to do, an insane amount of work. But
And what comes next? What are you doing right now, and what are you doing beginning in January of 2020 and
yeah, so right when we get back from the holidays is developing more battery packs so we can get a number of them in testing. We will be making our skateboard by itself. Right now we have it as part of the trucks, but we want to make our own separate standalone skateboard that we can actually drive and test certain things with not worrying about the body. So we're starting to build that already, actually. We're developing, because it's a Class 3 truck and it's the only all-electric Class 3 truck, we have some thoughts about we have a lot of commercial applications and military applications that can happen off of that skateboard. So we're talking to people about that as well. So there's like 3 different paths. There's the commercial side, the military side, and of course the consumer side. Consumer is the passionate, the thing that we built this for, the things that you want to get your hands on and get behind the wheels, and it's like the driving force. And then, so that what you see is, more like one side of your brain maybe, and then the other side of the brain, all the technology that's underneath that we developed, that's standalone on its own. So that business side is huge, and that could be outshadow the consumer side easily, when you go into the commercial side. But that's all for us to talk about next year. But it's developing really the skateboard that then powers everything.
Interesting. Who would be potentially for the customer for that? Like municipalities? You mentioned military. That could be the Army.
Right.
That's a pretty wide potential.
Yeah,
group of customers.
for any armed service stuff, it'd be non-tactical.
Gotcha.
But like right now, our B2, which is the 4-door, we can make a 2-door cab of that with the same wheelbase, same battery pack, same everything, and that could be a cab on chassis. So that can hold anything on the back of it.
Yeah.
That you see. We have posters of what we think could be on the back of that here in the office. Yeah. So, and we've actually had that on our journal on our website. So if you go in there, we have what Hunter's sketched up. So those are all renderings, obviously. Sure. We haven't created them, but right now we can make a cab on chassis commercial vehicle. Cool. And then if you take off the cab, then you can have whole other delivery option stuff on there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else, John?
No, I think thank you for coming and having us here and talking to us about this. I've been really impressed with what you've done, and it's really cool to see your team grow and to see the products as they come along. I think it definitely resonates a lot with us at Autoblog, but also a lot of our readers. They're just really cool. I love that they're rugged, they're off-road, they're boxy, they look cool, and I love that they're electric. I think this bodes well for an electric future, that that this kind of application, electric works for this. So I think that's super cool.
Yeah, and we just being able to have all these possibilities in the future. I think we have so much work to do. It's kind of mind-boggling, but when you look at just like where it could go and how it could be used and what it could do, it's very also mind-boggling, right? It's just like you get very excited about kind of stuff. So we just want to keep developing new vehicles. You're saying what's next? It's obviously getting this into production is the number one, main focus. But then what else can we put on that chassis is just endless, and that's what makes it fun.
Cool. Well, I think we'll leave it there. Robert, thanks for having us. It's been really cool to see your shop here, especially in these early days. It's neat to walk around here and just to see all these different vehicles.
Cool. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
And that's all the time we have this week for the Autoblog Podcast. This is our last show of 2019, so we're going to take the next couple of weeks off. Be safe out there. Have a great new year, and we'll see you in 2020.